Welcome to the KOMO Sports End Zone podcast with KOMO Sports Director Niko Tamurian and Najee Moye.
Welcome to the KOMO Sports End Zone. I'm Niko Tamurian. That is Najee Moye. Najee, how we feeling this week?
Niko, this is one of my favorite times of the year. Sports-wise, things are happening. Weather-wise, Seattle is perfect mid to late September, going into autumn. This is my favorite time of year. My birthday's coming up. We're in the middle of football season. Hockey season is coming up. And let me just tell you this, and the Hawks are undefeated and leading the NFC West at this point in time.
The
right
2-0
now.
Seahawks are in first place thanks to the Minnesota Vikings beating the Niners.
Yeah.
And, we'll take this any way we can get it.
Rams being 1-1, so yeah, we're doing good.
And I think that, first of all, it is a great time in Seattle sports. Between football, we have the Kraken in training camp, and NBA preseason coming up. Bring back the Sonics, right?
Bring them back. We need them.
We do. And you know what else we need?
What?
3-0 start.
We talked about, if you've been watching this podcast for a while, first of all, thank you. But last episode, we were talking about for the season preview, actually, we've been talking about, can the Hawks get off to a good start under Mike McDonald? And we looked at the schedule, we broke it down, and we were like, you know what? The first two games, they were tougher than we were expecting them to be. But nonetheless, the record is what it is. It's 2-0. At the beginning of the year, we thought this upcoming week game against the Dolphins on Sunday could be a game that things could get a little rocky with. A really tough team, really strong offense, a strong defensive, well-coached team. Due to forces unforeseen to us in Seattle, things have happened to the Dolphins.
Yeah.
We wish all the best for Tua Tagovailoa and his ongoing concussion. He's had a lot of concussions this past couple years.
Yeah.
He's not playing this week. He won't be playing for at least the next month. He's on IR. Hawks need to be prepared for whatever Skylar Thompson can bring to the table. I don't want to say his name quite like that, but he's not Tua, Niko.
No, he's not. And
it's a different Dolphins team.
It is a different Dolphins team. We're going to dive into that. We have a reporter from our affiliate and also from the Best Florida Sports Podcast. John Evenson will join us to break down the Miami Dolphins and how they're living life without Tua at this moment. He's out at least 4 weeks.
Right.
And we're so happy to bring you the KOMO Sports End Zone because what's really cool about it is we have this inside access to the Seahawks, right? We're at the facility. We get to ask these guys questions and we get to watch practice. We get to be at the stadium and on the field during the games. And you kind of put all that together. It helps formulate the questions for these players. It helps give you more of an educated guess. And so certainly Najee and I are pleased to bring you the KOMO Sports End Zone in that regard, that we can give you some access that you're not able to get anywhere else. And to that point, so we talked about the Dolphins a minute ago. I mean, the Seahawks are fighting through things. Kenneth Walker, the third, missing the last game. And, he's only been kind of running off a little bit on the side. Nothing not really practicing, but limited, I guess would be the way I would put it.
Right.
And so when you think about that and you look back at the New England game, I think that the Seahawks, Geno Smith, magnificent. The fact that he can put this team on his shoulders. And
he balled out.
He really did.
No, he really did. Yeah.
And he can will them to victory.
Right.
And what I loved about it was, look at a guy like DK Metcalf, your star receiver, somebody that, didn't really have a huge impact stat-wise. Mike McDonald was very clear to point out, otherwise, he had a huge impact because you got to account for DK, and that opens up lanes for Tyler Lockett and whatnot. But from a statistical standpoint, it wasn't like, oh my gosh, he went over 100 yards or something. But yet here we go against New England, 10 catches, 14 targets, 129 yards. Jackson Smith and Jigba had the best game of his year plus 2 games career. And it's just, to me, Najee, what I look at this is, okay, the point I'm around about trying to get to here is that, you're without K9. Your passing game was off the charts. Zach Charbonnet, we know is talented, but had some trouble getting going. No problem. The offense still gets going with the passing game. Week 1, the passing game was slow. No problem. Kenneth Walker III had his way. And so what I'm seeing so far with this team, Naj, is this Ryan Grubb offense, this team that's running through a wall for Mike McDonald.
Yep.
And it's just finding a way to win. Now, that doesn't mean they're going to be 17-0. It probably doesn't mean they're going to be 12-5. I think I said 11-6 back in August. But the point I guess I'm trying to make is I love the versatility and the way that this Seahawks team is just, maybe they can't go through the wall, but they're going to find a way over or around it. That's why they're 2-0, and we can hope and quite possibly 3-0 heading into a Monday Night Showdown with the Lions.
This is, just doing it any way you can. A lot of teams are kind of, if you look around the NFL, passing numbers are down.
Yeah.
Geno was one of the highest passing quarterbacks this past week. I mean, a lot of people, even Patrick Mahomes, Joe Burrow, they had trouble. I think defense is back. That's what I'm saying.
Sure.
And I think we have the great coach in Mike McDonald to bring back defense. But, you talked about DK Metcalf, and we're going to get in fantasy in a little while. And you talked about JSN. I want to toot my own horn. Toot.
Have at it.
Because if you were listening to us last week, first of all, thank you. We did.
You're so polite. I love it.
Thank you. I love our fans.
Yeah.
Love our listeners and the viewers. We do a segment every week about the best bets for fantasy, best bets for overall, just in general, for bettings and odds and different things like that. However, I did mention very early in the podcast that we may see some DK Metcalf over the top.
Yeah.
This past weekend in New England, I was watching the game. And the very first touchdown, I know it wasn't a big statistical game. It was pretty good for DK. But I mean, over the top, first touchdown of the game. I don't want to.
You literally called it.
Look,
I gave you Twitter recognition or X recognition, whatever you want to call it.
And I appreciated it. I texted Niko. I was like,
"It happened.
I'm a genie. I'm a genie." No, and it was great. And you said it also. This Seahawks team, running over people in Denver, and then throwing over people in New England. Now also New England cross country, again against another new coach, but a team that I think this Patriots team that we just saw is a team that will be tough.
Mm-hmm.
It's a team that we're just like we talked about it last week with a reporter in Rhode Island. It's a team that will kind of look in the mirror and it was a tough game. I want to toot Niko's horn too because he also nearly predicted the correct score.
For this and the Apple Cup.
Hey.
I said 24-20 Apple Cup. I didn't know who was going to win.
Right.
I kind of wimped out on that. Cougs won 24-19.
Yeah,
then it was 24-20, but it was really 23-20 in favor of the Seahawks.
I also had the Huskies win that game.
See, this is what you get when you listen and watch the KOMO Sports End Zone. Najee calling plays, me calling scores. I mean,
things are happening.
We won't talk about my best bet pick, but
we'll talk about this. We'll look forward. We'll leave that in the past.
Yes.
We'll leave it behind the wall. But I think you mentioned what we can look forward to the Monday night game in Detroit.
Yeah.
But the Dolphins, despite not having Tua Tagovailoa, Skylar Thompson is no slouch. He's filled it for him before. There's still absolute playmakers, and we'll get into that later on, but there's absolute playmakers on the side of the ball on the offense for the Dolphins that the Hawks teams look out for. I think what do you think of the season going forward, Niko? I mean, there are 2 games within Mike McDonald era.
Yeah, and so Mike actually made a good point about this. This is that point of talking about being at the facility and hearing what these guys are saying. He said it's probably too early to listen to notice certain trends with him. Now he meant it from a game breakdown perspective, okay. Right?
Yeah.
But the point stands that it's 2 games in. Now we can take things away that we like from what we've seen, and I love that this team rallied from a halftime deficit to beat the Broncos. I like that this team went down in the final minute, got the points they needed to force overtime, and then won the thing in overtime by the defense forcing a stop, and then the offense. I mean, let's talk about that possession in overtime they had. Tyler Lockett draws a pass interference, new life. 3rd and 6, and Zach Charbonnet takes the catch out of the backfield and just barely gets the first down. If he doesn't get that first down, who knows what New England does with it, right? You only need a field goal at that point.
Right.
And then Geno escaping pressure, dashing left and right, up and down, finds Tyler Lockett to get inside the 25-yard line to set up that Jason Myers game-winning field goal. I mean, so what I'm learning from these first 2 games is it doesn't necessarily matter the situation. If the Hawks are still within striking distance, they're going to band together and they're going to find a way to at least make it interesting. But so far, they've done a lot more than just make it interesting, and that's a huge sign for this team.
And they've played against 2 teams that are very, very well coached.
Sure.
I mean, say what you will about the Broncos. I know in the first game of the year, look, if you go back to the beginning of in the first half, things were shaky, things were rocky, things didn't look good. That being said, and you're playing against a Sean Payton-led team, this is a guy who's won a Super Bowl. People forget that. He's starting Bo Nix. Bo Nix says he doesn't like coming to Seattle very much.
No,
he really
sorry,
doesn't.
Bo.
Not so sorry. Sorry, not sorry, Bo. And then Jerome Mayo is a new coach, but he's a tough coach. He comes from that Bill Belichick coaching tree, and he definitely knows. And also cross country.
Yeah, to do that.
It's very
well,
difficult.
Now the Dolphins are doing it.
It's very difficult. And, the weather is not exactly a problem here in Seattle, but it's not Miami.
No, it'll be pleasant, honestly.
It'll be pleasant. It'll be beautiful weather, like I said before.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I think this, Najee, is a good time to meet the opponent. So to do this, I mentioned a moment ago, we have from the Best Florida Sports Podcast and our affiliate in West Palm Beach, John Evenson, joining us. He's at the Dolphins facility, just like I'm at the Seahawks facility. So a little bit of inside information. So John Evenson now joining us on the KOMO Sports End Zone podcast. I'm just thinking about this. The Dolphins, obviously, both teams are going through some things, but none more pertinent than what the Dolphins are going through with Tua. Obviously, that tough game against the Bills, the scary injury. Just you're at the Dolphins facility all the time. What is the mood, the vibe there? Not just obviously because of the loss to Buffalo, but obviously it was such a scary thing that happened with Tua.
Absolutely. Scary is the right word. I can think of a lot of others too. It's deja vu in our case, Dolphin fans and the media covering him. Of course, we all know he suffered at least two diagnosed concussions in 2022, probably three. So this is something that is not new to everyone around the Dolphins facility, and especially you feel for his family, his wife, and his kids. He's seeing a neurologist now. He was put on the IR, so he'll miss at least the next 4 games. A lot of opinions being thrown around on whether or not he should retire. Mike McDaniel, pleading with the media and others, on social media to let that be Tua Tagovailoa's decision, because no one really knows, what type of information he's getting back, whether or not, how his scan looked. Any of the real medical details here, but all you can really do is pray for Tua. And I can tell you on Wednesday at the Dolphins training facility, they had no choice but to be looking forward. Skylar Thompson is the quarterback now, and he's got to venture with this team on the longest trip that the NFL offers from Miami to Seattle and back. I think it's something like 4,000. Or even 5,460 miles, I think is what we figured out there. So they have a long trip ahead of them. And Skylar Thompson, he was emotional today when people asked him how he felt taking over the reins here. His mom died of breast cancer. He's very close to his dad and his family. He talked about calling them and letting him know of his opportunity here. So a lot of emotions, a lot of different emotions at the Dolphins training facility this week as they get ready for an important game.
John, you talked about how important this game is. I know, the Dolphins would love to have Tua. But this is not Scott Thompson's first time starting a game. He's filled in many times for Tua in the past. And this is still a battle of a strong defense, or what we hope to be a strong defense here in Seattle, versus a pretty potent offense with Mike McDaniel is like an offensive genius. What is something that the Seahawks fans can expect from the offense of the Dolphins, even without Tua as quarterback?
Well, it's funny you asked that, because it is the most difficult week to predict what we should expect with Skylar Thompson, because as you know, this team, or as you may or may not know, this team was built, this offense was built for Tua Tagovailoa. The quick release, the accurate passes. Skylar Thompson, Mike McDaniel is an offensive genius, but he is definitely going to have to come up with some new tricks with his playbook to sort of take advantage of Skylar Thompson's qualities. He's got a sling for an arm. He's just a different type of quarterback. And I would predict that we would see a lot of the running game this week. It would just almost seem like a necessity. Of course, Devon Achane is coming off. He was like the only bright point in that Buffalo loss. If you guys watched it on Thursday, close to 100 yards rushing, he had a touchdown. Almost every significant offensive play seemed to involve Devon Achane. So I would expect the running game to be very important in Seattle. But when you've got Tyreek Hill, Tua wasn't the only one who made, who got a big contract money extension. Tyreek Hill, they upped his contract. Jalen Waddle, they backed up the Brinks truck for him. Of course, Mike McDaniel also got a contract extension. So those are your two playmakers, and Skylar has them to work with. So they were almost invisible in that Buffalo game. So, unless Seattle can figure out a way to, stop them for 2 weeks in a row, both of them, Skylar's going to have to use his big playmakers and make some big plays happen on the West Coast.
Yeah, and that's funny you say that, because the two things I'm most excited about, first of all, is, you've got this unique coaching matchup. Mike McDaniel, offensive guru. Mike McDonald here in Seattle, defensive guru. And I'm probably going to mess that up all week. McDaniel and McDonald.
Yeah.
But to that, so it's so cool that it's like the opposite like that as well. So it's going to be an interesting thing. All the Seahawks players say he's a scientist in there, youngest head coach in the NFL right now, just turned 37. But X's and O's, my favorite matchup in this thing is those two. I mean, obviously there's more guys out there for the Dolphins, but it's Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle going against these young corners from the Seahawks. I mean, they're so different. Reek Woolen is 6'4", but runs a 4.240. Devin Witherspoon wants to hit you pretty hard and wants to talk smack to you. But you've seen those two receivers go against all sorts of corners, the best in the league. What has been, in your estimation, when they're going against some of these big name corners out there that they've inevitably run into, what's kind of been the response that you've seen from Tyreek and Jalen Waddle in that regard?
Well, it fuels them. I mean, I can tell you right off the bat, these guys, it's not even in their realm of thought that they could possibly have 2 straight bad games. And both of them, if you just look at their stats, they were horrible against Buffalo. And that fuels them. They take that personally. I know Tyreek, especially, everything he's been through this season. You saw, the incident before the game, being handcuffed outside of Hard Rock Stadium. He came in and pulled off his first ever 80-yard touchdown right there. So whenever things seem, whenever the challenge is at its most, Tyreek Hill is at his very, very best, always. And Jalen Waddle, he has taken under his wing and has the same. He's more of a happy-go-lucky guy, but he is just as competitive as Tyreek Hill, and they're going to need to be because they are thin. We never thought we would say this coming in, but they are thin at wide receiver. After them, there's been some injuries. Of course, the Dolphins signed Odell Beckham Jr. In the offseason. No one thought that he was going to immediately be put on the IR. No one has any idea when he's going to be coming back. River Craycraft was impressing during the preseason, and he had an unfortunate injury on an amazing touchdown catch. He hurt his shoulder, so he's still in a sling. I may have seen him off it this week, but nevertheless, he is out of the mix. So that's Achane again. It all comes back to Achane. He's been heavily involved in the passing game this season. And if Raheem Mostert is back, who of course had a breakout season last year, the veteran running back, in his 32nd year on earth, he made his first Pro Bowl, and just every game he had 1 or 2 touchdowns. He's always heavily involved in the passing game as well. So the playmakers, they're there, and that's what Mike McDaniel is hoping to keep your defensive guru guessing. And I can guarantee you he's up all hours coming up with the most creative playbook he's come up with in a while.
Start Dolphins players is what we're hearing on fantasy football, you guys.
That's our fantasy advice from John. Go for Aisha.
Well, it's funny because because a lot of people are like, oh my gosh, Tua's out. These guys are devalued. But gosh, I need to see it to believe it, because I truly think that, they're up for this challenge.
This is definitely a challenge that the Dolphins will have. I mean, honestly, the Hawks have looked decent and pretty good. The 2-0 actually right now on the year, and the Dolphins are kind of still trying to figure out where they stand in the division that may be a little bit tougher. That was many have seen. No, it's an exciting game. This cross-country trip, the Hawks went across country to New England last week. Is there any craziness that Mike McDaniels is plotting for, as far as the Dolphins going ahead into Seattle? You mentioned it's a 4,000-mile trip.
So you're wondering what type of team bonding might be going on?
Any team bonding, any extra sleep therapists, anything
Mike
like that?
McDonald brought in a sleep therapist for the Seahawks last week on their flight to New England. So
oh my God!
If he's revealed any other special things,
extra melatonin or any reading, or who knows?
We need to ask him that tomorrow. But I can tell you, Mike McDaniel has a history of overthinking these type of things. I forget, where did they go last year? They were in Germany last year.
Oh yeah.
And my gosh, he detailed a whole plan of how he made sure the flight was at this time so they could arrive at this time and still be on the right clock and sleep here. And everything was figured out So I don't have a specific answer for you on what he has in mind, but we are definitely you've just supplied me with a really good question to ask.
Well, you can use that, no problem. And also, Mike McDonald is probably one of the drippiest coaches of the league right now. I mean, honestly, we like shoes on this podcast, we like watches, and this guy, your head coach of the Dolphins, he's bringing the drip to Seattle, but it's pretty sunny right now, actually. So.
Yeah, and also I will tell you on the point of how close this team is. You know, we've been in a lot of locker rooms in our time, Niko, Tamurian, and this team is tight, man. I mean, offense, defense, the players really truly play for each other, and you know things did not go well at all last week. Jalen Phillips, who of course had that Achilles injury last year, was very open on social media this week, and he opened up about his. Just his mental state when they lose games like that. He wanted to let people know that they're not alone when they're feeling down. And he said when he has even a half decent and not so great game, and last week was not so great, he gets so low that he can't even get out of that mind state. And he just loves his teammates, and he thinks he's let his family down. Like that's the extreme version of how close these guys are. And kudos to Jalen Phillips for opening up about that, because hopefully a lot of people can see that and know that they're not the only ones who deal with depression and stuff like that. But this team wants to win for each other. I've never gotten more of that vibe from any other team, and that vibe starts with Mike McDaniel. He really knows how to build a team who is filled with humor, but motivation and love for each other.
Well, you love to hear that. So that's some great insight, John. I got to put you on the spot here. We're going to do our predictions here as we wrap up. First of all, we loved having you. Give us a score. What do you see happening Sunday?
So it's funny. I did this on our podcast as well, and you were kind enough to be on our podcast. And I don't want to give it away what your pick was, but it will kind of. So you had predicted a 28-24 final.
Yes.
For Seattle, and I flipped that. That. And I'm saying, so Skylar Thompson has a lot of experience. I think he was at Kansas State for 6 years or something like that. The pandemic played a part and stuff like that. But he has a lot of experience playing high-level football. And then, of course, McDaniel today has told us just like how ready for this moment that he is, just with thousands of hours of preparation. I think that combined with McDaniel's guidance, because McDaniel's the guy, make no mistake, who led Tua to success last year, with the most passing yards of any quarterback in the NFL during the regular season. I think Mike McDaniel and Skylar Thompson, I believe in Mike McDaniel's faith in Skylar Thompson, and I think it's going to be a 28-24 final. He's going to get just enough from those playmakers, and the Dolphins are going to get that win that they so desperately need out in Seattle.
Yeah, I think we agree it's going to be close. And the joke there was I predicted both the Seahawks New England game and the big Apple Cup college game here, Washington State. I predicted both games to be 24-20.
Oh, okay.
The Apple Cup, Washington State won 24-19, and the Seahawks beat the Patriots 23-20. So I got to stick with these 4-point margins.
Let me ask you this. I know Jack the sports dog is still going.
He's still going.
Do the viewers in Seattle know about Jack the sports dog?
They do not know about Jack.
Jack is the man, though.
Jack is my 16-year-old dachshund. Used to make picks every week.
Yeah,
and,
when Jack was a puppy, every week in Syracuse, he would guess the final score of whatever Syracuse game was going on, and he had a good record. I mean, too bad these betting apps weren't going back then because So is he retired? He's retired from doing bets? He's retired.
He's living quietly in Des Moines, Washington.
Okay. And I was going to think if maybe he could come out of retirement for just this game.
Well, if he does, I'll send it your way. But
that sounds good.
He's wearing a diaper these days. We like to keep him quiet, you know.
Oh, Jackie boy.
He's a great guy. He just turned 16 over the weekend, actually. Happy birthday to Jack.
Happy birthday, Jack.
God bless Jack. Happy birthday.
God bless Jack. And thank you, John Evenson, for spending your time with us. Great to catch up always. And I know it's going to be a close game this weekend. And who knows? Maybe we'll get to see each other at a Super Bowl one day with the Hawks and Dolphins.
Oh, how great would that be? What year are you predicting that happens?
2025.
Oh, I love it. See
Oh
you
my
next year.
goodness, this is insane.
Well, there you have it.
What year are you predicting that happen is the funniest line.
I got to tell you, let's get John off the screen here. I got to tell you, it's really interesting when you think about it that way, because anything can happen in the NFL.
Right.
I just believe, as John was saying, I believe in the upward trajectory of both franchises.
Yeah.
Maybe 2025 would be a little soon, but maybe not. Hey, you never know.
He just cracks me up. 2025 maybe soon. It could also happen this year. I mean, there's a lot of this is the odd season with injuries and other things like that. But I think the Seahawks are handling it well. The Seahawks don't have a lot of injuries, other than Kane and a couple others. But I really believe, and we'll get into fantasy later, that if you this and John told us his score, and I know Tua is not playing, and yada yada. However, get your popcorn ready.
Yeah,
on both sides. On get your both on the both sides of the ball.
For me, and we talked a little bit about this, I cannot wait to see those Seahawks corners we just talked about, Reek Woolen and obviously Devin Witherspoon going against Jalen Waddle and Tyreek Hill. But we also can't wait to see Jalen Ramsey and DK Metcalf square. I mean, this is must see.
This is must see TV. I'm thinking, and I'm not just saying that on offense. I'm saying I'm going to go out on a limb. I'm on a limb. I'm on a branch, and I'm going to say. There'll be at least one pick six in this game.
Ooh,
there'll be at least one pick six in this game. I'm not gonna tell you about where it's gonna come from, but I think there'll be at least one. I mean, I'm looking at you, Spoon.
I like where your head's at. Do you have a score prediction?
Yes, I do actually, and I think it's gonna be closer than I initially thought. I thought about this game for a while, and I know the Seahawks have a strong defense, and Scott Thompson is not Tua. However, I think they focus on the run game a lot. I think the Dolphins jump ahead early, score a bunch of points. Seahawks rein it in. They're at home after a while. I'm going to go with 42-35.
You got
Seahawks.
a lot of points, 42-35.
Because I think that, when you have a backup quarterback, he wants to lean on the guys that he knows will give you points, So I'm thinking, Tyreek Hill, I think Waddle, I don't want to see a lot of that celebration. Have you seen the celebration he does? He kind of waddles on the side.
I'm sure I have.
Yeah, it's great. It's pretty cool. He's been doing it since Alabama, but I think Hawks win by 7. 42-35. It's going to be a fun game of pick six. I think there's going to be a lot of fireworks in this game. What do you think, Niko?
Well, I think 20-24 Seahawks. But let me ask you, that high score,
right?
As we talk about our best bets this weekend, is your best bet, given that you're predicting that many points, the over on the point total of Seahawks Dolphins?
What is the number?
I'm gonna tell you right now what that point total is.
I'm not that sure what that number is offhand, but I'm pretty sure. I don't think it's that. I think it's much lower than that. So I want to hazard to say yes. I see Niko's going to pull it up right now. I think
I'm trying to find. I'm not good at.
There's a couple other games this weekend that I can kind of talk about, and with as far as the odds go. And I may be jumping the gun, Niko. I don't know about what you think, but if there's a lock, bet wise, the Chargers are underdogs to the Steelers by 1.5.
Okay.
What are we doing here?
Well, first of all,
what are we doing?
Over under is 41 total, 41.5 points.
Okay.
So you think they might go over that?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
Yeah, I think so.
I want to bring back up the best bets here. If you think about it here, I like the way the Tampa Bay Bucks are really they went to Detroit and they beat the Lions. The Lions team that really dominated them.
Right.
And the statistical aspects of the game. They're favored by 5.5 over a team in Denver that we saw, they saw here in Seattle. They didn't look much better. Bo Nix may be a good quarterback one day. He's just not right now. I mean, I shouldn't say he's not.
He's a rookie. This is the third game of the year.
And I have ranted about this often. I think rookie quarterbacks are far too often thrown into the fire too early, and it can often cases ruin their career. And
that I think that may be what's happening with Bryce Young right now.
I agree with you there. Yeah,
Tom Brady kind of brought that up a couple months ago, just about throwing these guys to the fire. It's unfortunate, but I think some teams need it to sell tickets.
Yeah, well, that's just it.
Yeah,
it's the same idea why you fire a coach who had at a decent record because he got to sell tickets and all that stuff.
Right,
but I think it has ruined the career on many quarterbacks in this league, throwing them in too early. So that could be what's going on with Bo Nix right now. But I like the Tampa Bay Bucks 5.5 points over the Denver Broncos. You were starting. I rudely interrupted you, so I
No.
apologize for that. So you were talking about another game.
No, I was talking about the Steelers Chargers game. And just like John Harbaugh, so he's gonna lean on his staff like until he dies.
Oh
like
gosh, yes.
which is a great line. I love it so much. He's a little odd in LA, honestly.
Yeah, a little bit.
He's a little odd in LA. I don't like to see him outside of Big Ten country or Stanford or otherwise. Chargers. I think they're
they look good.
The Steelers are favored by 1.5 over the Chargers. I don't know why. It's essentially a pick 'em. I like Justin Fields enough, but not better than Justin Herbert. I know he's kind of injured, but he'll be fine. J.K. Dobbins. I think very highly of this Chargers team. That being said, they were my Super Bowl pick 2 years ago, and it did not exactly happen.
They were mine 2 years ago too.
Yeah, exactly, and they didn't happen that way. But I think they have good leadership now, and I think they're on a good course in the immediate future. Chargers over Steelers.
Okay.
Certainly.
I like that. Yeah. And let's see. Hopefully, I picked the Rams over the Cardinals last week. So hopefully we do a little bit better than that this time around. So, Najee, it is that time to give everybody the best fantasy football advice they will ever get, except from probably everybody else.
Yeah.
So, who's maybe somebody you like, whether it's just somebody to play, waiver wire? What are you thinking?
I like Jacques Charbonnet.
Yeah, sure.
coming, home in the Seahawks. This last week was his first time seeing real, like, he's the number one guy with K9 being out. And, I'm not that sure we'll see Geno throwing it as many times as he did. He threw it a lot last week. And Zach Charbonnet took some time, as you mentioned, to get going. I think this could be a week where you expect a lot of points being scored. I expect a lot of points being scored, which means that passing first, running second may open up a lot of running lanes for Zach Charbonnet. He's a big guy. He's a strong guy. He's huge.
Yeah, he's a big boy.
He's a big boy. So I think that being said, you may need to pick up somebody because it seems like everyone else in the league is hurt.
Sure.
Yeah. So yeah, what do you think, Niko?
Yeah, I think for a breakout performance, this guy's not on waiver wires. I think Joe Burrow's due. I think he improved. I think he's just getting warmed up. He's had injuries. I think he's gonna have a big week, and he's playing the Commanders. So that's the environment to kind of come back against, right?
The Commanders made Daniel Jones look not so awful last week. And I hope you're right because Joe Burrow's in my league, in 2 of my 3 leagues. Yes, I have 3 leagues. So that's why I have gray hair right now.
So if you're somebody who's playing a couple quarterbacks, I like him. But for a waiver wire, I know that Carson Steele from the Chiefs was a popular pickup with Pacheco being hurt, but I'm not as big on that. I'm sure he'll have decent numbers in that offense, right? But I kind of like Deontay Foreman. He's available in most leagues. He's got a track record of being a proven number 1 back in this league. I think he's more talented than Strong and Ford on the Browns. And I think that we kind of saw that in the second half of that Cleveland game. One of those guys is dealing with injuries. I believe is Strong, and then he kind of just outperformed Ford. So that's my waiver wire pickup with the caveat again that I picked the Rams with the spread to beat the Cardinals.
Fair, I'm not sure who saw the Rams getting cooked. I know they have a lot of injuries with Cooper Kupp. Also,
and Nakua,
and Puka. And I'm starting Matthew Stafford this week, no matter what. I don't know why, because I'd rather not start Joe Burrow. I'm like,
sure.
I hope you're right. We may have to talk. We may have to have a discussion about the Cardinals. They're in the NFC West with the Seahawks.
Yeah, well, we don't see him for a while. We don't see him here till November 3rd.
We may have to have a serious conversation about Kyler Murray and whether and Marvin Harrison Jr., who's finally linked up last week. So who knows?
Want to make a prediction? The new Call of Duty game comes out October 25th. Kyler's done after that, right?
I think he's gonna get a taste of success, and I think he's gonna stay away from Call of Duty. It's in his contract. Actually, it's not in his contract anymore. I'm not sure if they took it out.
I don't know, but they don't play. Seahawks Cardinals don't play November 24th. Najee, this was so much fun.
This was fun. This was fun.
Yeah, we can't wait. 105 kickoff, Lumen Field. I'll be there with live coverage for KOMO News. And of course, Najee will be in my ear telling me everything I said was garbage. No, I'm just kidding. He's the nicest and
I'll be live.
Ever.
I'll try to be live tweeting from that game from my couch.
And so there you go. And so this is why we love bringing you this. We have a unique perspective on all things Seahawks. We're at the facility. We're here. We're hearing what all the guys are saying. We're at the game. And we have this great perspective. We love, like you kind of map it out. We're here, there, and everywhere. Yeah. And we love bringing on some of the guests, like we had Nicole Menner from Providence break down the New England game. Her analysis was spot on. By the way, we all thought it was a close game. We'll see how close John's prediction is. He flip-flopped mine, of course, but we appreciate John's time. And go ahead and give his crew a follow down there in West Palm Beach, the best Florida sports podcast. If you want to check out my opposition interview with them that they have on their show, we kind of traded duties for this week. But yeah, we love giving you this unique perspective. We're going to do it again ahead of a huge Monday night game next week with the Detroit Lions. Najee, will they go into it 3-0? I think so.
I think so. I'm hoping so. The Lions game is gonna be great. The Lions have a tough team this year. So, but let's not look forward. Let's keep where our feet are. Let's look in the present.
You got it.
Lumen Field, 1:00. Miami Dolphins cross country. Let's go Hawks, go.
Go Hawks. Bring back the Sonics.
Bring them back.
We'll see you next week.
Bye.